Never will I ever be able to become wealthy coming from a council estate. What a load of crap. The amount of people that have left humble beginnings and gone on to become financially successful, business successful, and gone on to become leaders in their industry is phenomenal in the UK, in the United States, and in our cousins in Asia at the moment as well. One of the reasons for that is we have stuff that you can't teach in school when you come from a council estate or a environment where a lot of people aren't in work or they're in low income jobs. And that thing is called resilience. And what I mean by that is there are so many times in your life you will be told the word no. You can't have this, you can't get that, you can't do this, you can't do that. And some of those things, you look sort of over the wall and you see other people doing them all the time. And as a kid, you grow up and you're looking at people like, wow, they've got the latest footwear. For me, when I was a kid, it was Kickers. They were the in-brand stuff at the time. And you sort of go, oh, I can't get Kickers. Now, some parents, mine including this, my mum in particular, got herself into debt. There was something called Provident loans back then, which I hope they don't exist anymore. But what they do is they sort of do doorstop loans. You go and lend £200 from them, and you have to pay something like £500 back. And you have to pay them something like a tenner a week or something along those lines. But the interest rate on them are absolutely eye-watering. And they prey on people who are poor. They prey on people who have very little disposable income. And they say, but we give people these opportunities. No, you don't. You're sharks with a license. That's what you are. People would get into debt, particularly over Christmas, to make sure that the kids got something that resonated with what other kids have got. And as a kid, you don't sort of think to yourself, my mum can't afford this or my family can't afford that. You sort of go, you look at everyone else and you go, I'd really like this. No, I was very fortunate in that respect. My mum in particular got herself into debt a lot to give me things as a child that I didn't really need, but it's what everybody else had. And there's a lot of gratitude from me to her for that. However, there are things like when I went to this party when I was a kid, and where I lived, the whole street, there was only one car, which was always on bricks because the guy was always fixing this car. And I went to this house party when I was 14. And it wasn't a particularly big house, but it was a lot bigger than ours. And it was in a place called Upton, and the lady's name was Carol. I won't say her surname. Carol B, I'll call her. And I went into this house, and in the driveway, there's 3 cars. Now, I've seen one car in an entire street, and this one house had 3 cars in it, in the driveway. And there was all these other cars in all the people's driveways. And I was like, wow, what's this? And people might laugh at that, but that was a real eye-opener for me. That changed the whole way that I thought in my life. So I go in this house and I said, whose are all these cars? And I'm looking at this really high ceiling and I'm looking at the nice decorations they've got in, and nothing's been smashed up like it was in my house. Everything was always smashed, typically every weekend or every Tuesday night. This was all like really nice looking stuff. And I was like, why is there 3 cars? And she's like, well, we need the cars to go to work. And this was like the first thing that I remember. I was like, work? Because for me, my mum at the time of this in my life, she didn't work. My stepdad didn't work. The people on our row didn't work. So this was like 2 people in the household work. And she was like, no, my son David also works. He'd been working as an ice cream man, driving around the park selling ice creams to the kids. And he bought himself a car. And he was only 18 at the time, or 17 at the time. So here I've got this woman telling me that not only can you have 3 cars, but you can also all work in the household, which was completely alien to me. And then I was like, wow, okay. I said, so, this house is like amazing. She's like, well, yeah, we've had the mortgage for, I think she said like 15 years. And I was like, what's a mortgage? And she was like, she must have thought I was an alien because I was like, I don't know any of these words. And she's like, well, it's when you want to borrow money to buy a house. And I was like, borrow money? Like from the Provident? Because all I knew about was Kay's catalogue and the Provident. That's how you borrowed money, or from a family member like your nan. And she was like, no, you get this bank loan and then you pay them back every month and you live there. And I was like, wow. And that changed the course of how I thought about life. And the reason why that's important is because when you're living in a council estate, you don't know about getting mortgages necessarily. You don't know about everybody gets a job. You don't know that you can own a car. Maybe things have changed a little bit nowadays, but back then, growing up in the early 90s, that was definitely not on the cards. So for me, it was an incredible life-changing event, which allowed me to start thinking bigger and start looking at opportunities that I had never considered before. So never will I ever become wealthy coming from a council estate is a complete myth. It's utter bollocks. And anybody who can learn resilience and learn how to accept the word no and still push forward and still find creative solutions around problems, they will be the people, no matter what their background, that will go on to become financially successful. Hope that's been a useful episode for you, ladies and gents, and I look forward to seeing you over the next one.